Alright, so we're in lesson 11, which talks about absolute value, magnitude, and distance. So basically, absolute value, the big thing about it is its numbers distance away from zero. One thing that you need to know about absolute value is always positive. Repeat it with me. Absolute value
is always positive.
Alright, so here's what an absolute value symbol looks like. It looks like a giant 11, right? And you'll see that it has a number inside of it sometimes. So whether it's a positive number inside or whether it's a negative number inside, the answer to this is always going to be
positive.
So the absolute value of a negative 4 is simply going to be a
positive 4.
The absolute value of a positive 4 is simply going to be
positive 4.
Positive 4 because it's always positive. So let's locate our opening exercise. The opening exercise simply tells you to locate 5 and its opposite on a number line. I'm sure by this lesson you're familiar with opposites. The opposite of 5 is what?
5.
Negative 5. Alright, so opposite of 5 is negative 5, okay? So if I ask you the absolute value of a negative 5, you will simply tell me 5 because it only takes me 5 units to get to that number from 0. So that's its absolute value. The number's distance from 0 is called its absolute value. Okay, so let's look at example 1. Example 1 says the absolute value of 10 is written as this. So here's how you would say it though. It's called the absolute value of 10. Okay, so what you're basically answering is how many units does it take me to reach that number? If I go using the curved arrow method, how many units does it take me before I reach the number 10? It takes me how many units?
10.
10. So the absolute value of 10 is 10. Now, if I wrote the same thing, look at the next one. The next question says, what other number has an absolute value of 10?
Negative 10.
Negative 10, right? Why?
Because it's 10 units away from 0.
It's 10 units away from 0 as well. So if I were to count using this curved arrow method, I would see that it also only takes me 10 units to reach negative 10, right? So the absolute value of 10 is simply
negative 10.
not negative 10.
10.
It only takes me 10 units to get to that negative 10, right? So it's not negative, it's just simply 10, right? Because it takes us 10 units to reach it. So when you're thinking about absolute value, it's never going to be what?
Negative.
Negative because distance is not negative. Turn the page for me really quick. On the next part, you have a table. So I'm going to need you to track the paper on this one. So you have a table. They give you the number that we're referring to, which is negative 6. So they want to know the absolute value of negative 6. That means how many units does it take me before I can reach negative 6? So you're going to do the curved arrow method. You're going to go over how many times?
6.
6 times. You're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of negative 6 is simply what?
6.
Positive 6. And that's what you'll put there. On the number line, you need to show the curved arrow method, starting from 0 until you reach that number. Now, let's look at the last column. The last column says different number with the same value. So what other number would give me an absolute value of 6?
Negative 6.
Negative 6, okay? So you can put that in the same column because the absolute value of a negative 6 is still what? Positive 6. So right here, I should put a 6 because the absolute value of 6 is simply what?
6.
6 because it takes me 6 units to reach that. So this one is also 6. Let's look at the next one. The next one I have a number 8. So the absolute value of 8 would be what?
8.
8. Because it only takes me 8 units to reach what?
8.
8. What's another number? Now we'll do the same thing. Start at 0 and go to a positive 8, which will be here. Okay? And then what's another number that would still give us an absolute value of 8?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. Okay? So you're going to finish that table doing the exact same thing. Look at example 2. Example 2 talks about absolute value to find magnitude. Magnitude tells you to basically describe the impact of the situation. So it says Miss Owens received a call from her bank because she had a checkbook balance of negative $45. What was the magnitude of the amount overdrawn? So what basically happened to Miss Owens?
Her bank account got minus $45.
So that means that she what?
Took out some money.
Took out some money that she did not have, and she owes the bank what?
$45.
Yeah, so all you have to do in that workspace is to tell what that situation means. If her checkbook balance is negative $45, tell what that means. That means that Miss Owens didn't have $45 in her account.
And she borrowed it from the bank.
And she basically borrowed it from the bank where she spent money that she did not have. Then you have to tell them how much money did Miss Owens spend. She spent $45 that she did not have. That's all I want you to write in the workspace, okay? So then when you turn the page to number 4, you're basically going to describe the magnitude of those situations. So Maria was sick with the flu, and her weight change as a result of it is represented by negative 4 pounds. How much weight did Maria lose? If it shows negative 4 pounds.
She lost 4 pounds.
4 pounds. So if you're describing the magnitude there, you're telling me what happened. You're saying Maria was sick. So as a result of that, she did what?
Lost 4 pounds.
She lost 4 pounds. She saw her weight went down 4 pounds. That's it. Okay, so you're going to do that for numbers 4 through 9 as well. 4 through, I'm sorry, not 4 through 9. 4 through 9. And then when you make it to number 10, it says list a positive and negative number whose absolute value is greater than 3. Any number that has an absolute value greater than 3. Justify your answer using a number line. Okay, that means show the curved arrow method. When you get to number 11, you're going to check all that applies. That means you may have more than one answer that applies to this situation, which represent the absolute value of 10. And then you're going to finish the page. Remember, the absolute value is always positive, and it represents a number's opposite. So opposites show absolute value because they are the same amount of distance away from what number?
0.
0 on the number line. So do your best on this. Remember what this symbol means. When you see this giant 11 looking symbol, that represents the absolute value symbol. And no matter what's inside of it, it's always positive. Do really well on your exit ticket and your check for understanding for lesson 11.